Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Phil and Ryan on Listen Up. Ryan, on this Sunday, a not so lovely Sunday. First of all, congratulations to the North Carolina State Wolfpack. Hats off to them, Ryan. The UConn Huskies lose it. Second game of the regular season, fall to 1-1 on the young season. Notice I say, Ryan, young season. Don't panic. Even though I know that you're not that happy. I know that not a lot of people are right now. I'm not. Wolfpack 2-0, Huskies 1-1. Got a lot of comments coming in, a lot of posts on X. Now it's called X. So I know you have a lot to say. I know you don't really want to say it, but we're going to say it anyway because we talk. That's what we do. So Ryan, the game recap straight from Frederick all the way to Middletown.
Yeah, sold out crowd today in Raleigh, North Carolina. A lot to say about this game recap. I'm sure you guys are going to have a lot to say in the comments section, but starting lineup today stayed the same. We talked about the urgency for UConn to get out to the game, start the game strong, and that's what they did. That was really the only positive side, the bright side of this game for UConn, I'd say, was the first quarter. AZ Fudd started us off with the three right away, their first possession. On defense, UConn forced a shot clock violation turnover for NC State. UConn 13 points off of 6 NC State turnovers just in that first quarter. Despite UConn's tough on the ball defense, NC State still found a way to score, and that was kind of the story for the whole game, I'd say. Not so much UConn's defense after the first quarter, but just NC State's ability to score, very consistent on offense. I talked about how strong their guard play is and about their height on offense and defense as well. I thought we'd see a lot of Aubrey Griffin today. She was indeed the first sub off of the bench for UConn. We also saw KK Arnold, Caden Samuels as well check into the game. UConn broke out the full court press in the first quarter, gave NC State some problems. A little surprised they didn't try that the rest of the game because it worked on that one play, and I don't think I saw it after that. So that's something I was a little confused about, why we didn't see the full court press any at all after the first quarter. But UConn ended that quarter on a 7-0 run. And after that, it was all kind of downhill. Ice Brady checked in for Aaliyah Edwards. UConn small lineup on the floor. And again, that was something that UConn really struggled with today, was their lack of size. And hopefully that isn't a problem throughout the season, but it obviously hurt them today. NC State, very relentless on offense. The Huskies, on the other hand, their offense, the exact opposite. Had 3 turnovers to start the quarter. NC State with an 8-0 run. You could sense the momentum shifting. You could sense the crowd getting into it. Like I said, sold out crowd, very tough place to play. Caroline finally ended the streak with a bucket. Page scored as well. But UConn, they missed so many open shots in this game. Really, really frustrating to watch. AZ, Caroline, Aaliyah down low. It just wasn't clicking. A lot of missed opportunities. And on defense, a lot of miscommunication. But a confident Wolfpack team, they really couldn't do much wrong on the offensive side. Went on another 7-0 run in the quarter. UConn still hanging on to a 1-point lead at the break. And then starting the third quarter, with the plethora of fouls from UConn, 2 on offense, turning the ball over, and then 1 on Aaliyah, a little bit of foul trouble. It was kind of the same story in the third quarter. UConn, with good looks on offense, just unable to convert. Like I said, NC State just couldn't really do much wrong on both sides of the ball, and it was just one of those games for UConn where nothing much went right for their side. But Aubrey had to go back to the locker room. She did return to the game. It appeared as if she got hit in the head, but she was able to return. And like I said, the lack of size, that UConn got dominated on the boards. That was another reason they really struggled in this game, getting dominated on offense and defensive boards. UConn trailing now going into the fourth quarter. And one word to really sum up the fourth quarter, and I'd say the entire game after the first quarter: momentum. They never got the momentum back after that first quarter. Very hard place to play. Like I say, UConn just looked rattled the whole entire game. Couldn't come up with any stops on defense. Offense looked rushed. They didn't get aggressive enough. They didn't really open up those lanes. And like I said, a lot of missed opportunities. UConn falls 92-81 final score from Raleigh, North Carolina.
All right, thank you, to say the least, for the game recap. A job well done, better than I will ever do, Ryan. You already know that. So that's 100% better than what I had for you in game one. I'm going to try to make this as different as I can, because we hear it on all sports talk shows. We hear it in locker rooms. We hear it everywhere in the sports world. This UConn Huskies women's basketball team has to come together and regroup. They do. They do. And Ryan, I'm trying to think of a different way to say it while we're on air right now. I don't know if you have a different way for me to say it. You tell me. But they have to regroup. All right. I know it's the second game of the season. They must regroup. And with that said, be ready for this. I'm just going to warn you, be ready for this. I want you to answer this question truthfully, honestly, and everybody else that watches this and comments away. Comment more than you do after a win, please. I'm asking everyone to do that, really, because I want to hear feedback. I want to hear how the Huskies can improve, so when March rolls around, we're set. We're set with a nice, great big bag of popcorn and Cheetos and whatever you want to eat, right? Ryan, these are not the UConn Huskies of old. These are not the UConn Huskies of old when you and I were sitting at the dinner table in the morning in high chairs eating baby food. All right, them days are done. They're done. Leading up to this is why I'm saying this. I was beat up, not physically, but I was beat up over the summer about commenting to you about size on this team. All right, now this is one game. I understand that. But if we continue to see this, what did I tell you over the summer about size on this team? And not one, not two, but several people came through and they said, size? They said, excuse me, there were a lot of injuries. Well, yes, they were, Ryan. Yes, there was a lot of injuries, right? In the past, year, 2, 3? You tell me, Ryan. What my point is getting up to you is, what now? What now? Because you're telling me there's obviously, thank goodness, right? Thank goodness. Now, you mentioned about who? Aubrey Griffin had to go out. There's not that. We're waiting on a Patterson return. Yana Al-Alfi out for the season. We're pretty healthy right now, okay? And I get it. It's one game. What's the deal now? Because there's not that many injuries on my list here. In the good old book, there's not that many injuries I have listed down.
No, and I think honestly, it might have to start with the lineup change, and maybe not in the starting lineup, but I think maybe coming off the bench, because if I recall in this game, I don't remember seeing Aaliyah Edwards and Ice Brady on the floor at the same time. So I think maybe changing up the lineup some to get more size on the court. Like I said, UConn really, they had momentum at the end of that first quarter with the lead, a 7-0 run. And then after that, Gino put on the floor a really small lineup with Caden Samuels, Nika Mule, Paige Beckers, Caroline Ducharme. So I think, obviously the size was really the outlier in this game for UConn. And I think it's going to continue to be a problem, even though, Ayanna Patterson hopefully returning very soon. But I think, like I told you before we went on, I don't think Ayanna Patterson in this game would have really made a huge difference.
I agree. I agree with you. Now, she is a game changer. I'm going to stop you right there real quick. She is a game changer, right? She is a game changer. She is unbelievable. We haven't seen much of her, but she is unbelievable, right? Well, actually, we haven't seen nothing out of her this season, but
Yeah.
she's unbelievable. She is a great UConn Husky. But Ryan, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the score would have changed that much.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully when Ayana comes back, I mean, maybe instead of seeing Aaliyah and Ice on the floors together, maybe we see Ice Brady and Ayana Patterson sub in at the same time to get them both on the block, down in the post, to get some help on the boards and to grab rebounds on either side of the ball because it was very frustrating. I'm sure for everybody watching this game, and I could see the frustration on Gino every time they pan the camera over to him, just frustrated at everything. But I think, one of the most frustrating things in basketball, I think, is when you're just getting dominated on the boards and you can't
Yeah.
grab a rebound. It gets very frustrating to watch because and not only about the size, but I think effort comes into it a little bit as well. And I could tell in the fourth quarter at sometimes, NC State, hats off to them, played a really
Mhm.
fantastic game, really talented offensive team. But I felt like UConn at some points in the game, specifically in that fourth quarter, just a little bit of a lack of effort and felt like, the game was kind of done before it hit the scoreboard hit triple zeros. So I think maybe the team needs to, get a little bit of more motivation going into the final quarters. Not really used to trailing a whole lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
yeah, I think
that's what I'm talking about, Ryan. When I not to cut you off, that's what I talk about when I say that they're not the UConn Huskies of old anymore. When you and I were in the high chair eating baby food, I'm not saying this team has what it takes. But what I'm trying to tell you is, how you have schemes, coaching, stuff changes over the years. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you on that. And I think, like I was saying, it was really the lack of effort at some points, because it just felt like NC State was driving straight down the lane. And it was really nothing UConn could do about it. So, obviously, I think a little bit's going to change, especially when they watch the film after this game. I'm sure we're going to see a totally different UConn team when it comes time to face Maryland on Thursday.
All right, comment time. Adam Edmonds. This puts a smile on my face. At least I can smile for a change. Do we need to start a GoFundMe for Phil and his heat bill? These last 3 videos, he's been dressed like he's filming from inside a freezer. I'm going to the north. Here we go, Ryan. And especially after a loss now. This is the mood right here. Cold, right? Ready for bed. I'm going to the North Carolina State game today because I live in Raleigh. I hope you guys are excited for Maryland. Go Huskies.
Yeah, definitely excited for Maryland. Unfortunately, didn't really get the outcome today at NC State, but yeah, I'm sure it was loud when they went to the game. It got very loud in that stadium. Especially when NC State was going on those runs, and UConn couldn't really do much. I think also I think just NC State being at home, the sold out crowd, everything that has to do with that. I think that really affected the way UConn played, especially when NC State did take the lead in the second half. It just seemed like like the momentum and UConn just couldn't really get things together after that.
Stevie Kinsey goes, I'm expecting Paige to be more efficient from the floor this game. She was upset with how she performed last game. DeBerry will not play against tough competition, period. Coach Moore is a class act, and his teams are always well coached. Nationally televised game at a sold-out arena. UConn just has to stay composed and play their game. Hoping UConn shows out. Go Huskies. Prediction, Huskies with the W, 82-68.
Well, they really hit everything on the head there, except the last part with the prediction. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely, we're talking about a lot of negatives right now. But if there is one positive to take away from the game, it was Paige definitely was more efficient from the floor. I think she had a really good offensive game. The one bright spot on UConn from the offensive side in terms of scoring when she did have the looks and creating looks. So Yeah, it looks like Paige is a little bit back to what we're used to seeing her as her old self. But I think in terms of UConn staying composed, I think they did until, like I said, NC State started to get back into the game, got the crowd back into the game, and then it just kind of all fell downhill from there.
All right, one more. 34 AS, or excuse me, not AS, 34 ST Zoo. I like to start by saying I appreciate you guys for providing us with such a quality content. Well, that's a lot of thanks to Ryan, not me. But yes, we appreciate every one of you all, and we love each and every one of you all. I do agree that that Paige should not be ranked number 3. Paige is that player that wants to earn her ranking and not given to. I bet if you asked her, she would agree.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think, her maybe not at number 3, but if she was ranked lower, I think she would get a little boost in the rankings after today's game. She really did play a pretty good game, and I hope for the rest of the players. AZ Fudd really struggled from the floor today. Had a good first quarter, just like a lot of other UConn Huskies, but really struggled to find her shot after that. Caroline didn't really see much of her throughout the whole game, I'd say. Aubrey Griffin, Nika Mule didn't really see a lot of them either in terms of offense. But yeah, hopefully UConn can just move on from this tough loss. But like you said, they're gonna have to rebound and move on from this one.
Final score again, 92-81. Wolfpack over the Huskies. Ryan, and Saniya Rivers drops a game high 33 as North Carolina State downs the Huskies for the first time since Ryan 1998. All right, we will be back with you guys on Tuesday evening for the last check-in versus Maryland. And Ryan, get this, how weird this sounds. I will be actually next to you for the next game recap, side by side in a hotel room. That's going to feel a little bit weird since we've always been in different rooms. So now it's a whole now we get to discuss our opinions and hopefully no fists are thrown. No, I'm just kidding. Leave it off right there, Ryan. It's Phil and Ryan on Listen Up.